Hey, guys, welcome back. And do we have a treat for you today? Of course, I can't go and do Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, these recaps, without some of my favorite content creators joining me. And today we have a special guest who's joined us numerous times at this point. I feel like we've made a friend out of her. Welcome, Emily D. Baker. But actually, before we welcome her, I do want to thank the Law Nerds too, because you guys have been so amazing. I've seen you in the comments and I've seen you in the live chat. Guys, if you haven't already, smash that like button, subscribe to my channel, hit that notification bell because we have a lot coming up, and I'll hit that intro.
It's time for all your binge-worthy pop culture news. Welcome to Up and Adam.
Hi. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. I love the new intro. I love the shift in the intro. It's good to see the Law Nerds. Thank you for loving on them. They love being here too. They're always so excited. They're like, when are you talking to Adam again? I'm like, it's coming, I promise. So
we're talking Bravo.
So I know. And I love having spaces to talk Bravo because on like my core content is really all of the pop culture legal. And so we cover so many different communities. We cover Bravo, we cover Britney, we cover music, we cover Duggar, like we cover we cover YouTube drama, so many different communities. And the Bravo loving Law Nerds are so excited when we get to just Bravo it up forever. So I'm really happy to be here.
I mean, you're always so busy, but I love when I see that you're going live, and it's always at these, I don't want to say random times, but for me, it's always at a time that I'm not live. So I get to watch and I'm like, hey, there she is again. What are we talking about? And then I saw your Nirvana post. Actually, Jason came running to me last night and he's like, look at this. And I was like, I've already seen that because I saw Emily D. Baker. Okay.
You're like, I know Emily's on it. Like yesterday was so much because I woke up and saw that the trustee had filed the financials, and we got these ages ago from Tom Girardi's personal bankruptcy. And there was some interesting stuff in there, watching his personal income drop off pretty heavily. And there were some little things in there that were like, ooh, interesting. But then this like over 500 pages of like mention it all was wild and a lot to go through. And then the Nirvana baby sued the band over his picture, and it's in line with stuff we've talked about. And you know, Kanye West is legally changing his name, and like Megan Thee Stallion is suing her label to release a collab with BTS. It's so much has happened. I'm like, I have to breathe. Friday's going to be really long. And then Tuesday, my stream, we covered so many motions. We ended up being almost 3 hours. And I was thank you, Law Nerds. But it was so much to cover. And it's just a really busy week in the world of Bravo and in the other corners of the internet. So it's
you
wild.
Don't stop. And speaking of Bravo,
it doesn't stop. When I started doing this, sorry, go to shift the topic and I totally cut you off. When I narrowed down into really the entertainment news, pop culture niche of what I was talking about, just because I feel like people really can talk about the law without being so like, I don't know, no, my side's right or my side's right, the way we can get with politics and some other types of news, that my husband looked at me in the car one day. He's like, what happens when you run out of stories? And I am like running back and forth. He's like, what's going on? I'm like, new Girardi filings. He's like, you're never going to run out of things to talk about. I'm like, no, bitches be getting sued all the time. We're never going to run out of stuff to talk about.
And it's not like you just like completely focus on Bravo. Like you said, you're covering all different, corners of pop culture. So no, you won't run out of anything to talk about.
Oh, and Disney's being assholes to Scarlett Johansson. Like there's so much.
I heard that and off topic, guys, I'm sorry, we do this, but that's okay. I heard that Disney, when you sign on in any capacity, whether it's like a kid or whatever the case is, even Selena Gomez has said this, you pretty much sign the rest of your career and life away to them.
If Scarlett Johansson didn't sign with Disney as a Disney star, she signed with Marvel to do Black Widow. So her contract's actually with Marvel, which is a division of Disney, but her contract's not with Disney. So she did not sign to be exclusive with Disney. So it's an interesting case for sure.
It never stops. It never stops.
No, it does not. No, it does not.
Well, I appreciate you liking the new intro, and I also got my new haircut, which makes me look like Johnny Bravo. So I'm feeling myself today, and I am ready to talk.
You look amazing. You just hit a big subscriber milestone. Like,
hey, thanks.
It's a big deal. You're going to be 100K so fast. You better start planning what you're going to do.
I'm trying. Well, I asked everybody, but I'm trying to get my silver plaque because I want to put it behind me and I'm going to copy you. I would
do it.
You would probably die if I come on and I'm like, hey guys, 100K with purple hair. You're gonna be like, okay, get some originality.
No, I love it. No, I love it. You're here for it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I think it's so much fun. So yes, and you're getting ready to go away. You're super busy today too.
Yeah, so we were just talking about this, guys. I haven't really mentioned it on my channel, but here we go. This weekend, Dana Wilkie, 25,000. Yeah, mention it all. $25,000 sunglasses. She is in Miami. She lives in South Florida, and we've been talking back and forth because I've had her on my channel. I've been on her podcast, and she's like, "When are you going to come down?" So finally, Jason and I just booked a hotel, and we're going to hang out in South Beach with Dana Wilkie. So I think
I love it.
It'll be interesting. And it's very, like I said earlier, it's on brand for what we're talking about. She was a part of the Beverly Hills franchise, and she does this commentary where she's watching the show, just talking over it. And it's hilarious because
I need to watch that because that was me last night and nobody was around to listen but my cats.
No, well, she records it, but she's like, Erika Girardi's like, that is so small town of her. And she's like, no, it's not, bitch, because listen, like, that's Beverly Hills. Like, you don't know Beverly Hills because you live in Pasadena. Next. And I'm like,
oh, because
like,
Beverly, look, I grew up in Manhattan Beach. I grew up in the South Bay in Southern California. There are lots. LA is not LA. Like there's LA, but it's not LA. LA has all these different little sections to it. I much imagine like New York. It's not just New York. You've got all these little very distinct communities within and little towns and cities. And all of them have a very particular kind of social set, a very particular group and their own little societies within them. So it's not ridiculous of Sutton to be like, look, this is going to be bad. Erika said the episode prior, I'm a little radioactive right now. Like Sutton's not overreacting, I don't think. Everybody might not appreciate it. Some people might be like, Sutton, ride or die, bitch. And Sutton's like, I don't know her like that. I don't know. We have not gotten along like that. I don't know her like that. So no, I'm not ride or die for Erika. I don't know what happened.
And I agree with you because, you know better than I do, but my time in LA, I was mostly working out of West Hollywood. And then I lived in West Hollywood for a little bit. And
a very specific little micro, everybody knows your business.
Everyone. It actually gets, it gets annoying because then you're walking down the street and you want to look like garbage. And for me, I would just go pick up some like orange chicken for lunch and I would be in my pajama pants and they'd be like, hey, I'm like, no. Just leave me alone. So yeah,
that happened all the time. My husband was running his practice in the area where I grew up. So I would run into people that were patients of his at like Home Depot on a Saturday morning. I'm like, he's like, this is my wife. And they're like, oh, it's so nice to meet you. I'm like, it's early. Hi. And then we had, like when I started having kids in elementary school, it would be like my kids now best friends with my high school boyfriend's sister's kids. So it's like my high school ex-boyfriend's nephews are best friends with my kid. And it's like, oh, my kid's in the same grade and friends with the girl who was like the homecoming queen when I was a sophomore. She's lovely, by the way. I adore her. But it was that small town that it's like, as we were all adults, it was still everyone I knew was either married to someone I went to high school with or like someone I went to high school with, which feels kind of typical for the South. But now that I've moved here, everybody in my area is from somewhere else.
Yeah, which kind of feels typical of Los Angeles. I feel like every 3 years you get a cycle of new people because everybody's coming from everywhere else and they have these big dreams and some of them make it. And then the other ones are like, oh shit, I got to go back and work for my dad's construction company.
Yeah, oh shit, it's expensive, it's dirty. And it's hard to live. Like it's hard to break. You need like 5 years to break into a social set in LA at least. And it is hard. LA's not easy. So
no, LA is not easy. But speaking of LA,
but speaking of Beverly Hills and Pasadena and the fact that Erika was part of the like old bitch Pasadena set because Tom was old, she was not part of the run around Beverly Hills crew. She did not get pulled onto the show because she was already friends with the women, which is what happened with other women. They were all friends. Did Tom buy her way onto the show? I need to know.
Listen, that's a question hanging over everybody's head because we've heard, right? He was in a lawsuit with NBC. Then all of a sudden the lawsuit was dropped. And then Erika Jayne was brought on to Bravo. And then she was introduced to us as Yolanda Foster at the time's, friend, but who actually knows? I would not be surprised if that were the case because as we've seen in the Amex bills and how much money they've spent on her career, it seems like at one point, you would do almost anything to make her dreams come true. And this was her dream. She wanted to be
or at
famous.
least to make back some money on the investment.
Yeah. That's a good way to look at it.
Because once she's on TV, I had never heard of her. Once she's on TV, I'm like, some of the music's catchy. Now it's different. Like it's turned for me. But when she was first on, I was like, oh, I get it. I get the vibe. I love this like midlife, take my power back, take my sexuality back, like be in your face, wear the necklace with the C word on it, just be in these women's face and like push them out of their comfort zone. I was here for the realness. And now I'm like, oh, that's not realness at all. Cool.
Yeah.
I hate all of it. I hate it here. We can't go backwards. I hate it here. But now Garcelle's serving up the realness, so it's fine.
Well, before we jump into your recent post on social media, I do want to just talk a little bit about last night's episode because there was a lot happening. And I normally like to rate the episode and kind of see what everybody in the live chat thinks as well. So guys, 1 to 10, what would you give this episode? I gave it, I believe, like an 8.3. If I didn't, that's what I'm feeling right now. And I thought it was good because we had drama between Garcelle and Dorit. We had Kathy Hilton just being Kathy Hilton, which I love.
I was living.
Erika.
Kathy missed the whole fight because she's like fixing her and I kept catching production like clocking her or the camera guys clocking her, and she's just like, what I didn't realize is she wasn't ignoring it. She literally didn't hear the whole thing because she was like involved in whatever she was doing.
This was literally her. She's like
just like,
and they're screaming "F you" across the table, and she's just like unbothered, fixing her lips. Yeah, that's her. And it probably wasn't even Rena Beauty, which is the funniest part. She was just
I'm sure it wasn't. And you know, it's always interesting because talking to like you and Zach Peter and others, I've learned that some of the things that happen, and even Dave Quinn and others in the Bravo space, some of the things that happen because people are mic'd in real life aren't as big as they can seem on the show because was Garcelle yelling "fuck you," or was she sitting there going, you know what, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you? And she was mic'd, so it seems like a louder moment. Kathy did not hear what was going on because I heard even with New York, like the Giovanni scene where she like Dorinda's sitting there like Giovanni, and Luann's on stage. That a lot of people around couldn't necessarily hear it because she wasn't screaming it, but she's mic'd, so it seems louder when you get to the show. So
they're amping up the volume.
I was wondering if. Because Garcelle seemed angry, but she also didn't sound like she was yelling. So I wonder how much she was just like, you know what, fuck you. Just like.
But I have to say, I honestly feel like in this moment, when we're watching this whole little feud happen, I feel like Dorit is reaching because it's not like anybody hasn't said this to her before. They're like, you talk, you know, if you, like Kyle said, and there were some funny one-liners here. But when Kyle
said, figure out how to do my hair like that. I need to elevate the bun. I feel like I have enough to
keep glam squad if you want that. No, you don't need a glam squad, and you also
definitely need a glam
looking
squad
into your finances. So,
definitely,
and that's what they do when you start spending this kind of money. Mm-hmm. But no, Dorit, like Kyle said, she's like, if you ask her what time it is, she's going to tell you how to build the clock. She runs on forever and ever, and she doesn't let anyone talk. And Garcelle, you know, her labeling Garcelle as a bully, I was thinking, I was like, oh shit, that was a strong word to say. And then Garcelle kind of elaborated on the fact I'm not a bully. A bully is someone who goes in and is sort of the aggressor. And that was not me. I'm pointing out things. 1, you talk too much. 2, that's not what you said when, you know, we were at your house and sat and called that meeting.
Accurate. Because accurate. Dorit called Garcelle a bully for holding up a mirror to her and saying, no, bitch, this is not what you said. This isn't you. And I think Garcelle has nothing to like, she doesn't need the show, right? She has a career. She has other things. The show is a lot of fun, but I think if she was off the show, she'd probably be fine. I'm not, you know, she's not like Ramona Singer, who's at this point, like so invested into the show. I don't even know what Ramona would do if she wasn't on Housewives, but that's just my speculation. But Garcelle, she would learn the new phrases for real estate and figure it out. But Garcelle is really just holding people to what they say. And she's like, no, that's bullshit. But bringing it up again was bullshit. I'm sure that, you know, Dorito would be like, it's an analogy. I was just saying it's like this. But it was a cheap shot and it had already been settled. But isn't that what Housewives does? Don't we just drag up old shit?
Yeah,
Isn't
it's
that
like
the
she
thing?
said somebody called PETA because Dorit's beating the hell out of this dead horse. But,
She
you
was.
know, with this too, it's like we already now knowing because somebody leaked exactly what happened behind the scenes with production. Erika Girardi had a knockout drag out with production. It wasn't actually said to Garcelle. It was said to Crystal. It was caught on the hot mic. And then production kept pressing and pressing Garcelle to bring this up in the moment because apparently she thought it was okay, and knows all of this happened. You're in the house, you know what went down. So by you bringing this up, it's almost like deflecting. And like Garcelle said, settle this between you and I because you weren't there, you had nothing to do with it. And I'm team Garcelle. I'm like, Dorit, you're deflecting right now.
She was. And, you know, if she is going to be a friend to Erika, which she seems to be kind of in the middle, but if she's going to be a friend to Erika and she knows Erika's had this drag out moment with production, and we heard Erika in the bathroom, I think that her crying in the bathroom was a very real moment. Like, I've been open, I've been honest, like this moment of like, what I could just picture her being like, what else do you want me to do? I am doing my best and the hits keep coming. She knows that. So why bring it up again?
Yeah, well, she did. And since she did, you know, she came and she was dressed to the T. We know that Dorit always likes to.
Always is. She
looks
always looks great.
She always looks great. But when she was talking, honestly, when Garcelle got up, had this have been any other franchise, like I feel like we know that the Beverly Hills women, they don't put their hands on each other. But you know, you go to New York or you go to Atlanta or even Miami and even Dallas, like when the women start to, or even Potomac, when the women start to stand over you and
Orange County.
Orange County, when they start to, Tamara Judge, when they start to stand over you, it's in like, they kind of get in your space. You normally think, oh shit, but she's like, I know Garcelle has a whole career. She's on the reel. She's not going to, like, Dorit was just too calm and confident for bringing up the shit that she was bringing up because one, there was no reason for it, but two, be careful. We've seen a couple housewives get dragged across the table.
Garcelle's classy though, and Garcelle uses her words. She doesn't back down. She says what she says, but she's also not going to throw a glass of champagne in somebody's face. Like that would have been what I expected for Dorit. It's like, you know what? Fuck you for bringing that up. Whoosh. But can we talk about the champagne? Can we talk about the champagne at Erika's house?
Go ahead. I mean, this is when we get this moment. Here we go. Everybody goes over to Erika's house. Well, when I say everybody, I mean Kyle.
I love that Erika's in sweats.
She's
Erika's
in sweats.
like everyone else is dressed to the nines. Erika's like,
vacuuming
this
the
is
couch.
what I got. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I think that she's trying to give us, like, when we see Tom Girardi and he's walking around with his black eye and in very oversized clothes, she's trying to give us, like, help me, I'm poor, and be nice to me. This isn't lavish. But we've also seen her in sweats before, so I'll give you a pass. And I'm sure they're expensive. I'm sure they're still expensive. But when they came over, you know, Erika wanted to know what exactly was said and what are the women afraid of. They had a conversation with Sutton. Sutton's not letting the mouse go on this one. They told Erika, and she took it very offensively. She was like, you know, that's some small town bullshit. I don't know, you know, why Sutton feels that way, or she's so worried about her, you know, how people think of her and her reputation. And Teddi Mellencamp actually made a good point in an interview. She said, how are you worried about your reputation when you come on a reality show? Those two don't make sense together. And I actually, for the first time ever, I agree with Teddi.
You're like, it makes sense. It makes sense. It does. It makes sense.
Does it?
But I think that, I don't know. I think that Sutton, there's reality TV drama, and then there's like the biggest legal scandal that any of us can remember. I mean, this is beyond anything that we've seen. And we're going to see the women of Salt Lake have to navigate this too, because a federal indictment is a big deal. And we saw how hard it was for New Jersey. And the stuff going on in New Jersey was, yes, it was a crime, but when we're ranking the horribleness of what has happened, you know, signing mortgage documents that you shouldn't have signed fraudulently is not on the same scale as Tom Girardi's firm owing over $100 million to people, including his clients, who haven't gotten paid. It's just not on the same level. This is not reality TV drama. This is crazy. So I'm not surprised that Sutton is hesitant. And now you see, you know, the lawyers for the bankruptcy trustee saying, oh, okay, Rinna, you're so buddy with her. Let's bring you into this too. Let's depose you, which I think is just blustering on social media. But it still, it kind of validates what Sutton was saying, doesn't it?
I mean, Garcelle even said when all of this was coming out, I was thinking, can we talk about this? Do I need to get a lawyer's opinion? I don't necessarily understand everything in the article. Can we be deposed? It makes sense because I was reading a lot of the comments and they're like, no, you guys are being, ridiculous. You're not going to get deposed. You're not. But then here's Lisa Rinna and Ronald Richards confirming that he is actually going to depose her. So you can't say.
He's going to try to.
Or he's going to try. Right.
They haven't filed that motion in court yet. We'll see if it gets filed. And Rinna's legal team has a right to object to the subpoena and say, I have no information.
Right. And I was just saying stuff for a reality show.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But he's definitely dragging her on Twitter. So it's not as if she's now being dragged into this too much more closely than the other women because of things that she said. She's definitely being dragged. But when Erika was sitting there with the champagne flutes saying that they were a parting gift, and Kaya was like, oh, did you sneak them out in the middle of the night from the Pasadena house? And Erika's like, yep, they'll probably try to take them from me too. And I don't give an F. I was like, ooh.
Somebody's watching this, Erika.
Oh, Erika, no. And you know what? Hopefully the ladies, we've been breaking this down since this all started in December. Hopefully the ladies have been watching us and they just learned. Hello, ladies. But it's just that moment. I was like, ugh.
It doesn't look cute.
I was floored because the Cavalier, it's a parting gift. I was like, no, it's community property and the community property is going to be liquidated in the bankruptcy. So yeah, somebody might come back. And I asked Instagram and Twitter, and it looks like they are like $500 a piece, the champagne flutes, from what the Twitter sleuths have found.
$500 a piece?
Yeah.
What are they, baccarat?
They're
Speaking
baccarat.
Like Kathy Hilton?
They are baccarat.
Okay.
Ding, 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 ding. Look at your bougie ass.
Yeah,
exactly
no,
what they were.
Listen,
I somebody linked the listing on my Twitter.
Okay, there's no baccarat here. This is IKEA. So nobody come and take my show. Okay.
Same. Love IKEA.
I don't even know if baccarat is a store. Do you buy it in a store? Is it at Williams Sonoma? Is it Sonoma Williams?
I don't think it's at Williams and Sonoma. But somebody linked them on my Twitter so you can go and see what glasses they are. I think that's probably what they are. But yeah, I was like, okay, so there's $1,500 of champagne flutes. Oh, okay. Okay.
And I'm sure that there's not just 3 glasses there. So
no, there's no way. There's at least 12.
But speaking of them sitting there talking to Lisa Rinna, one of the things is like we said, Lisa Rinna has said too much, so she could potentially be deposed. But I'm watching the episode and I've noticed this over the last 2 seasons. Lisa Rinna is always making her storylines about her daughters. There's really nothing going on ever with Lisa Rinna. Sure, we see her launch Rinna Beauty, but even this.
Did we see her launch Rinna Beauty?
Yeah, that's what I
go, yay! And that was it. We didn't see a product except when she got a bug in her lip gloss, which does happen. It's super annoying. And she was like, let me fix it with my Rinna Beauty. That was it.
I thought was clever.
It was clever. It was cute.
Clever. It was cute. But you're right. Even this Rinna Beauty event, this was an event, which technically a lot of housewives do this. They have an event and then the other housewives come with this vendetta and they fuck up the whole event. That happens. But for the Rinna Beauty event, there was
there.
A lot of shit that, there was other things that went on that really overshadowed the whole event to begin with. And by the way, Crystal Kung Minkoff saying, oh, I love to throw parties. I throw 2 to 4 parties a week usually. I'm thinking,
How?
Be careful what you say. Now somebody's going to start investigating your funds. Like, what do you mean?
No, first of all, I don't think she funds all of them. I'm sure some of the people she hosts for fund them and she just organizes them and puts them together and handles it. I think she's like a low key shoulder tap party planner because she enjoys it. So I definitely got the sense that she was having fun. That party must have been planned pretty far in advance. The bartenders were wearing custom shirts. Like there were custom lips in the pool that had the Rinna Beauty logo printed on them. Like this was a long time in the planning with the stuff that they had for it. It was beautifully done. I think she did a great job.
I wish it wouldn't have been during COVID because I would have loved to have seen like more people there. But honestly, we didn't need it in this scene. We got enough out of the scene in this one event to be okay with not having all the extra people there. And speaking of which, though, did you catch the shade from Kathy Hilton, which we love, shaded Dorit twice in this episode? One was, while I'm sure you've heard that before, when it comes to her talking so much and not letting anyone talk, I was like, oh, Kathy. Okay, so you heard that, but you didn't hear Garcelle screaming F you.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And then the second one was, she's like, I love to do beautiful table settings. These are my $995 Baccarat candle holders and this and that. And she's like, Dorit does whatever she does and likes to dress up or whatever. But for me, I like to dress my tables.
Yeah. It was like she spends her money on clothes. I dress my tables.
She's fucking Kathy Hilton. You can't say anything. Which we also got. She made me kind of sad this episode when you saw her. We saw real emotion because I feel like she's very composed.
Well, as much emotion as could be displayed.
Yes.
I mean yes.
She's very reserved. I feel.
Yes, she is. She's also, her face didn't move all the way when she was crying.
Well, yeah. I mean, and this whole situation, this conversation that she had with Kyle, I feel like we've been waiting because we knew that there was a rift between the sisters for so long, and we've been waiting to hear more about this. And the fact that Kathy even touches on it, I was shocked about. But she did. She let Kyle know, one, I wasn't okay with you doing this series that you did. Two, I wasn't okay with your husband taking our clients and starting the agency. She didn't necessarily say that, but we know exactly what happened.
But she did. And then when, Kyle was sitting there talking about the fact that their mom couldn't cook, she wasn't a good cook, Kathy said, those are one of the things that I don't like you saying. I'm like, I mean, but some things are just facts, and it's okay I get the sense that Kathy is okay with people seeing the surface, but doesn't want anybody in the kitchen. She wants you to see the beautiful table. She doesn't want you to see the mess in the sink. She does not want people to know all the family drama. She wants to keep it above board. And that's kind of a very Sutton moment too. It's like, everyone doesn't need to know our business. I don't want everyone on the street knowing my business. I'm too famous for that. I'm too rich for that. I'm too famous for that. I don't need everyone knowing all of our business. And the sisters have gotten messy. And Kyle and Kim have gotten messy on the show. And I can see why Kathy, you stole my goddamn house. Yeah. I can see why Kathy didn't like it. I don't spend a lot of, other than watching the shows, I have not spent a lot of time running down what is going on offline and behind the scenes. So I didn't know all of the drama between them. I had guessed some of it had to do with the show because it had come up in previous seasons, but I didn't know about the agency and the clients, and I had no idea. I was like, oh, interesting. But this was more emotion than she showed, and I think the chat brought it up too. This was more emotion than she showed in I think Paris Hilton's documentary.
Yeah, and like Carla just said, Kathy wants to control what gets out.
Yes.
The biggest lie during this whole, I got to read this. The biggest lie during this whole episode is that Dorit doesn't like garlic. What's in the buca de pepo, or what in the buca de pepo hell? I like that. I love buca de pepo. When Kathy said that she did have a lawyer send Kyle Richards a document saying, don't talk about me or my family.
It was a cease and desist.
A cease and desist. I love that you know the legal jargon.
She didn't say it, but she described a cease and desist or a demand letter, but it's really a cease and desist. Cease and desist from these things, or we will take legal action and we will just bury you. We have lawyers on retainer. They need something to do. We'll let them go play. Yes.
Wow. That's a great way to put it. And, she said...
Lots of lawyers who just need something to go do. It's like, tell my sister she cannot talk about my life or my family. Go.
She's like, they're on call. They're on the 37th floor, Century City, Beverly Hills. They're somewhere and they're bored. So watch this.
Lawyers do need a challenge. I mean, you can see this on Ron Richards' Twitter. When lawyers can be like a dog with a bone and they just want something to do. And they need purpose. Lawyers don't have personal, or shouldn't have personal vendettas. Lawyers fight it out for their clients. It's one step removed. It's like, well, this is what my client wants. So they need something to do. Otherwise, they're just sitting around going, well, I have nothing to do. I've never seen a lawyer sitting around going, I have nothing to do. Let me listen to every podcast episode and read it. Lawyers are busy with client work, but they take on their clients' causes and fight for them. It's the reason Olivia Pope called her gladiators the gladiators. It's what lawyers generally do. So yes, Kathy Hilton's lawyers wanted to release the flying lawyers.
But don't you think, though, in this, when Kathy Hilton said, I would even send that to my own family, like a cease and desist to my own family if they were talking about me? Because Paris Hilton, she did talk about a lot of things that happened behind the scenes in her documentary, and I don't think she got a cease and desist.
I wonder how much she was allowed to review that before she let it out. And I also wonder if she wants to have a relationship with her mom, and Kathy Hilton as a mom wants to repair her relationship with her child for breaking her child's trust. There's got to be a level of, Mom, I'm doing this and you owe me this. You broke my trust. I'm telling my story. I'm speaking my truth. That conversation had to happen.
Well, she said that she hasn't watched it.
Good.
Yeah.
But to know it's going to get out, I mean, I think the way you treat your sibling versus the way you treat your children is probably different. And there was a broken trust there I mean, I watched it. I thought Paris was very candid, and it doesn't even matter if everything happened exactly the way Paris perceives it, because that's what Paris is working through. She is traumatized by these events. She sees it from this perspective. It doesn't really matter what her mom's perspective is,
Right. No.
So
this is never.
It's a lot.
No,
it is never ending. But Paris has really grown on me since the release of her documentary. Like, I feel like she's speaking in more of her real voice. She's grown on me quite a bit. I really have a new kind of admiration for her resilience after knowing more of her story.
I loved in the documentary, by the way, when her sister is like, God, I hate when you talk like that. And she's like, what? And then Paris looks at the cameras and she's like, oh shit, sorry. Like, I'm just so used to doing that. And she's like, hey, so are we ready yet? I'm like,
I love her real voice. I feel like we're getting some of that from Erika this season too. Like, I feel like Erika is like, there's no illusion anymore. Like, I'm a tough bitch. And when you have a lower voice as a woman, you definitely hear it and you get flack for it. So I can understand why Paris and Erika both kind of put on a voice that was a few octaves higher. But it's interesting hearing Erika's like, whatever, bitch, like, it's done.
Even when
parting gift.
Dana Wilkie does the commentary, she was like, look at her. She just sits there in the scene where they're, cheersing with the $500 champagne glasses. She's like, she looks like and sounds like an android. And I was like, oh, I never thought about it like that. But she does come off, and maybe this is her. I don't know. I don't know Erika in real life, right? But she does come off very like calculated in what's being said. And before we jump into, because I want to bring up your post, before we jump into that, again, if you guys haven't hit that like button, go ahead and do that. We appreciate you. And thank you, Loners,
for being here. Too.
Yes, and hit the subscribey things too. And we're giving you the cursey words because Emily D. Baker's here. And normally I don't do that, but I'm just playing in the role, okay?
I do it, and he's such a gracious host that he's not going to tell me not to come in his house and curse.
No, I can't stop you from being you. I just want to celebrate it, okay? But no, in this moment, we see where Erika Girardi, some of the stories, and we've heard, Tom getting into the accident, being unconscious for 12 hours, and then breaking a clavicle or something like that. And we've just heard so many different random stories, but then we're hearing, which kind of gives me concern, we're hearing that she left Yolanda Hadid's condo at one point, and then she goes back home, and then there's Tom Girardi sleeping, and then she reaches over him and picks up the phone. This phone from like
the flip phone from 1987. Yeah.
1987, right? The flip phone.
Yep, we'll go with it. Just keep rolling.
She says that is the moment that she knew, but then Kyle Richards said, well, why didn't you leave then? Why didn't you say anything? And she's like, well, I needed to digest it and make sure and see what do I actually have here. Well, we've seen the text messages. It's pretty obvious what those were. And
then she said Then she said the real truth. She said, where was I going to go and with what money?
Yeah,
that's the real truth.
We can understand that. Truth. I feel like there's a ton of not only women, but men and women who are in relationships. And there are a lot of people who are stuck in those, situations.
Is very, very, very common in all manner of relationships and all manner of socioeconomic standing. This is a very common thing. And it's something that as a DA that we saw when people were like, I can't come to court and prosecute him for this thing that he did to me. And if I do, then he goes to jail and I have kids and no job. What do I do? So can y'all please just stop? It's like, well, we have a police report. We kind of have to keep going. And over, when I started in my entrepreneurial space, I would get entrepreneurs calling saying, I want to leave, but I'm worried I'm going to lose half my business. This person's kind of intertwined with my brand. What do I do? And how do I leave? And how do I afford a house and this and that? It was It's very, very much a common theme. And I think for people who have been through divorce or trying to leave a relationship where the finances were uneven, they will relate to Erika in that moment because it's one of the only relatable moments with her from this episode or from the last few.
And Lisa Rinna also pointed out that, 6 years ago, you wouldn't have been able to make this move that you did today. And she made sense. One of the things that Erika said made sense is, I wanted to get out of the situation, so I had to work my ass off in order to do so with filming, brand ambassador, sponsorships, doing my music. I mean, I'm sure they spent more on her career than she actually ever made, it seems like. But speaking of which, it
seems like there's $14 million that went to pay her American Express bills for her company from the law firm. So
here we go. Emily D. Baker wrote on social media, Instagram to be exact, wow, over 100 million owed to creditors. It leaves one question. Where did the money go? What did Erika know? I'm sure you weren't trying to rhyme there. Did she know her company, EJ Global, was benefiting from the firm? And then you put up this and said, from January 3rd of 2020 to June 18th of 2020, there are 634 identified Amex payments. 432 of them were to benefit EJ Global. What is going on? Can you please break this down?
Sure. The law firm, out of its funds, was paying off the American Express card that belonged to Erika's business. Is that okay to do? No. The business, out of its own business bank accounts, pays for its own bills. So EJ Global should have had its own bank account, its own banking relationship, its own Amex card, and should have paid that. If Erika needed money, and this is not uncommon with creators and with entrepreneurs, that when you're getting started, you have your business bank account, your business credit card, and sometimes it's not enough to cover. Then you would generally invest from your personal bank account and loan the money to your business or invest the money in your business and note it and move it from one bank account to the other bank account and then pay the bill. You're not going to pay your business credit card out of your personal bank account. And one company's definitely not paying the banks for another or the bank cards for another company. Like, this is from the law firm's bank account paying the American Express bill. And the way it was stated in this financial document was for the benefit of EJ Global. So this is a card for EJ Global that's being paid from the firm monies. And what this document is, there's two of them. They are over 500 pages combined, and it's a breakdown of assets and liabilities. What money does the firm have? Where is that money? And what does the firm owe? And what has the firm paid that we might be able to track down? And that's where we see this $25 million number that the firm has paid, it looks like, in kind to EJ Global. And what I mean by in kind is, the ladies were like, and social media too, what, you didn't notice $25 million just getting dumped into your business bank account? I now wonder if EJ Global had a business bank account or if the firm was just rolling it all like, oh, we'll just handle your company too. I have that question. That has not been answered. But it looks like in kind. So payments were being made out of the firm on behalf of EJ Global, not a large chunk of money just dumped into a bank account. The 14 millions in payments to American Express and other things like that.
Could he not, though? My question, so are we.
Can he not do that? No, he cannot do that.
Disgusted.
You can't do that.
No, but my question is, couldn't he, since it is the law firm, and I'm sure he paid himself, right? He would write his own checks. So
he would just kind of take money when he needed it. And it seemed like he was treating the firm as his own bank account because he was a sole proprietor in the firm. This is not the proper way to do it. You would generally take the money from your business, put it into your personal bank account, and then take the money from your personal bank account and invest it into the business account. There's a proper way to do it. He was just like, money, 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 money.
But right, well, when a lot of people have business accounts and they have a job or say whatever, they have a company, they say the company makes $1 million, let's say $100,000 in 1 month. And they will take out of that $100,000, let's say maybe $30,000, and they'll put it in their personal account and say,
as a draw
for the month, and I'll leave the rest of the money in the account. If he knew that there were these outstanding bills, could he not have that month been like, oh shit, I spent a little bit more. Instead of taking $30,000, I'm going to take $70,000 and I'm going to pay myself that. Would that not be appropriate?
Well, not because the clients weren't getting paid. If the clients were getting paid, you can take whatever draw you want, but when it's accounted for as a draw, then it's taxed. So some of this is him paying his company I'm going to try to back up. Corporate taxes are such that you get paid whatever money you get paid. Like for YouTube, for example, I'll just use myself as an example. Google pays me AdSense. Taxes don't come out of that money because I'm in the US. So I get dollar for dollar what they pay me. Then I pay my business expenses, contractors, whoever I need to pay. Then I get taxed on this bit that's left over. So if you're paying every bill you can pay up here, you're not getting taxed. If you draw that money out, the money that's drawn gets taxed. So you get paid whatever the payments from the clients or the settlements, you take it out into your personal account, you pay personal income taxes on it, then you invest it into another business, tax comes out. If you're just paying the credit card, no tax is coming out before you're paying the credit card for AMX for a different company. So now those become debts to the company that nobody's paying taxes on. That's part of the problem of why that's not the proper way to do it. If it was his company's card and his company's expenses, it would be appropriate, but it's not. She's not a member of the firm, and these payments were going to benefit the firm. So Erika's company gets $25 million out of the firm, and there's over $100 million that people who actually lent money to the firm or are entitled to money from the firm didn't get paid. The IRS is going to be like,
Oh, God.
and so is the Franchise Tax Board, which is the California wing of that.
Okay. All right. Grace, thank you for the super chat. Since it's not a formal loan, is EJ still responsible to pay it back? Ronald Richards has also said he tried to recover from where Erika spent the money. How far down the line can you go to recover?
You can't go that far down the line to recover. And it will be interesting to see how the court decides, because the court will decide if it can be recovered or if it was an inappropriate payment. So if all of it's not a formal loan, it will be very interesting, but the company should be required to pay it back. But is he also going to go after all of the political donations? Like, excuse me, Newsom, we'd like the money back that Tom Girardi paid you. To all the judges' alliances, there are so many different types of political donations and donations to the state bar and stuff that are in here too. So where do you stop tracking it down?
Can you go after those donations?
Mm-mm.
No.
So
can he go after the Glam Squad that was paid all of this money? Can he? No.
I mean, if they are getting paid for services, no. If they're holding money for her, yes. I don't get the sense that Mikey or anyone on her team's holding money. I get the sense that she actually is spending that money. Whether that's the smartest way to spend money, whether you've negotiated the best rate or what have you. Once Erika gets the money and is spending it, right now, there's no proof that she knew that was money she shouldn't be spending. And there's no criminal proceeding. So it's not like we're in a civil asset forfeiture with a criminal case like we're going to see with Jen Shah. So this is a different procedure. This is a bankruptcy where they're trying to claw back whatever they can. But I don't know how far down the line they're going to get with this. And they're going to have to prove that those monies, A, went to her, and B, that she's obligated to pay them back. Her legal team is going to argue that went to her company. She's not personally responsible and the company is insolvent. So
I have another question for you. And this is a little bit off topic, but
Love it.
You said this isn't criminal, but I have a family member.
I should have said yet.
Yeah, I have a family member who ended up serving a year in prison. And when she got out, she ended up getting hit with a bill from the jail for like $30,000 because that was how much she had to pay for her time being in jail, which I didn't even know that they do. Now, my question is, if Jen Shah, and I also have a friend whose brother went to jail and he didn't get hit with any sort of fee or anything to pay back.
It depends on where you go. It depends on the type of case, where you are, the type of jail you go to, the type of prison you go to. If you're federal prison, if you choose the federal prison, it depends.
Is that what restitution is?
No, that's not what restitution is. Restitution goes back to a victim's fund and goes back to the victims. There's court fees and costs, housing costs and stuff like that. That's what court fees and costs in California are like 5 times the thing. You get $100 speeding ticket and you're paying like $750 by the time that you're done. And that's court fees and costs and all that other stuff. So no, it's not restitution. General restitution goes into a victim's fund. Kind of the specific restitution, like in a case with Jen Shah, they would try to get that back to the specific victims, not just into this larger victims restitution fund.
Okay, so now if Jen Shaw ends up going because she's indicted, this is huge, and she does end up serving 7 to 10 years in prison, would she be hit with a bill?
It depends on where they send her and how the judge sentences it. It just depends.
Okay.
It's like Josh Duggar right now is on. Josh Duggar has 2 charges for awful, icky stuff. But he argued, and his legal team argued, for home detention, but he couldn't be detained in a home with minors. His wife has like they have 6 or 7 kids or whatever. So he can't be at his home. So they had to find another family for him to live with. So he has to pay to live there, but he also has to pay for all of his own monitoring. So he's paying for his ankle bracelet and all of that so that he can be monitored. And this is what comes up when people talk about kind of equal access to justice. This is one aspect. If he didn't have the money to pay for the monitoring, he would be sitting in jail. So is it fair that because you can pay to be monitored, that you get to sit at somebody's house and like watch Netflix all day instead of sitting in custody? So where during this time, COVID being what it is, you could be at more risk in custody for COVID and what have you than if you're in a private residence. So these are much larger conversations. Well, what if you can't pay to be at the nicer one where you're less likely to get assaulted? What if? Well, then you have a different experience. So, we could talk about criminal justice forever, but
oh my God.
The long and the short of it is it depends, and it depends on the specific case and on all of that.
Well, and since we're talking about criminal and Jen Shaw for a second, I do want to ask you, we know that everything got moved from October. We had a lot of things get moved from October. BravoCon.
I'm so sad.
I know, me too. But that's okay. Next year, we'll be ready for it. And we better get our cheer and press passes.
BravoCon got canceled. Absolutely. It all got canceled.
Yeah, because actually, I think we had big plans. We were going to go straight from BravoCon with Jen Shaw, maybe even ride in the same car. Her court case.
Yep, we were gonna coordinate our black shirts and go sit in court together. Yep, no. I'm very bummed.
Yeah, I'm bummed too. But my question is, since her proceedings will be happening in March, will they have some sort of resolve by the end of 2022? Do you think?
Possibly, maybe not sentencing, but the trial should only take I think they said 1.5 to 2 months for the trial, but it's going to depend on if all the other defendants bail. It looks like a lot of people are striking plea deals. Stuart Smith looks like he's in works for a plea deal. So there's a lot of time and a lot can happen between now and March. So if everybody else pleads out, it might not be bad. And then we'll see what happens on the show, because going to trial, and I wonder if her team was trying to push this to trial before this next season aired, because I don't know when it's supposed to air, but they wanted the trial to start in October, and we're really pushing. Oh, that's right, September 12th. We're really pushing for it to air in October, because if it airs in October, they can't, or if it starts airing September and she goes to trial, there's not a lot of time to use what she says on the show. So now there's time for that whole season to air. So I wonder if that's why they were trying to push towards trial in October. Which, by the way, before I get back to Erika Girardi, one of the things that I saw in this trailer that I felt like was kind of bullshit was the fact that one, you're filming, you've been, it's been suggested to you, maybe you shouldn't film, maybe you should stay off social media, you continue to film, you're reposting #FreeJenShaw, and then you're not supposed to have heavy alcohol use. You're not supposed to do any drugs, right? We get that part. But with Jen Shaw, I was just shocked to see her stand up and get in Meredith's face, pointing in her face like this and being like, if I got indicted because of you, I swear to God. And it's like, oof. Oh, it's so New Jersey of them, isn't it? The rumors about who got you indicted. Do you want to know who got Jen Shaw indicted, in my opinion?
Jen Shaw?
Well, yes, her actions, but her co-defendants that took plea deals. There were numerous defendants in this same case that took plea deals in the months leading up to her getting indicted, which means they were working with the government, and they clearly gave the government information that led to the government getting search warrants, that led to them getting all of Jen Shaw's devices and bringing her into this. It's the other defendants. It's not Meredith. Meredith has I'm sure no idea what she was up to other than like business.
Because like you said, these documents are usually sealed until the day of, and then that's when they're
sealed to the day she gets arrested. Yep.
Sealed till the day she gets arrested. So there's no way in hell that Meredith Marks would have known that this was happening. And
what's Meredith going to do? Call the FBI and be like, this woman's business doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
However, I don't know how well they know Jen Shah, because Jen Shah has testified with regard to FTC proceedings that I know that Salt Lake City is a small town. There have been other cases. There have been 2 other full cases that have gotten indicted and gone to trial, and people have pled relating to the same telemarketing scheme. So if they had seen those things happening, they might have known a little bit that she might be getting looped into this. She definitely knew she could get looped into this.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to circle back to Erika Girardi.
Yes.
Really quick. Here we have another super chat. In a deleted scene, Sutton offered Erika money to help her. Could the unedited footage be subpoenaed and Sutton be deposed about that entire convo?
If she didn't give her money, it's probably not relevant at all, because the source of Erika's money is very relevant. A preservation letter went out for the uncut footage, so at some point that might be relevant. And the way that would work is that a judge would have to say, yes, we need this uncut footage. And then Bravo or whoever handles the footage, because I know with studios, there's like a million different production companies involved, but whoever dealt with the footage and has it would have an opportunity to object and say, we're not turning this all over for this reason or that reason. So we'll see.
Okay. And I mean,
the footage possibly, but Sutton doesn't know anything. Oh, Erika, I'm sure we're going to see. We haven't seen them shopping yet where Erika's like, you could pitch in for my legal fees, bitch. Like, we haven't seen that scene yet. And if it's in connection with that scene, it's Erika making a joke. Clearly, by that point in the news, it's going to be apparent that Erika's got legal fees. It's not like she has to tell anyone anything secret for them to be aware that she's going to be paying lawyers and not much else for a time going forward. And we see it, like, her foundation is cracked in those scenes of her like snapping on Sutton. It's wild.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, my question, I have a few questions for you on this. One, were you surprised that Sutton offered to help her financially?
I mean, I haven't seen the unedited footage, and yes, I would be surprised if that happened, because Sutton said, I don't want any part of this, and offering financial help would be getting yourself involved in it.
But I think that was before. I think that's when the divorce was happening.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that's a whole different scenario. If she's like, look, if you need help, I know you're getting divorced. I've been divorced from a wealthy man too. That wouldn't surprise me before all this came out.
Okay.
Because Sutton did bring her, the season is long, but Sutton did bring her like a little care package, and they went to the spa or whatever.
They started off good.
Yeah, Sutton had a lot of empathy for her and a lot of empathy for what she was going through. And then all the rest of it came out, and Sutton was like,
no. She's like, no, bitch, I'm not here for it. I'm here for the victims, which I like Sutton's stance, to be honest with you. There was another rumor that came out, and you have to take these things for exactly what they are. It's all speculation. They're rumors. We've heard so many RHONY rumors right now that I feel like I have whiplash from RHONY. I have to take a break. Another video came out today, or another article, and I looked at it and I was like, no, ma'am, not today, Satan. I am not jumping in on that RHONY news, because I'm over it. But yeah, for Erika, this all keeps playing out. And we heard a rumor that Erika might potentially, and we'll find out before the reunion, might potentially leak, somebody who she might be seeing at the moment. And mind you, she's allowed to see whoever she wants. She's not with Tom Girardi anymore. She is still trying to get a divorce. It's not like she's not allowed to legally date. She can, do whatever she wants.
She clearly wants to get it in. She was talking about it while she was cleaning her kitchen.
Right. But we heard that Lisa Rinna has already met this alleged man. Do you think, and that the alleged man might be helping with her legal fees, could this be possible?
Oh, absolutely. It could be possible. If it is, it'll come up, because at some point where money is coming from will be asked. There are a lot of depositions scheduled to happen. Some of them have gotten put off, but they're going to be deposing her bookkeeper, her family law attorney, on how they're getting paid and other stuff. So they are going to try to track down source of money, how she's paying her rent and those sorts of things, to make sure it's not money that's coming from, with regard to the bankruptcy with the business, to make sure it's not money that came out of Girardi Keese. Like, if the money is just like, no, this is the money that came in from book royalties and then it went to her living expenses, then it's a little bit easier, which is why the bookkeeper's like, this is what's coming in and this is what's going out, which is, again, going to make it harder for them to track down the money if it was just paying the credit card bills and stuff.
Well, if say there is somebody, and this again is all speculation, but say there is someone, a new man in her life, and he's like, listen, babe, I'll help you. I'm going to help pay your legal fees. It's not like he would legally be allowed to do that. If it's his own money and he wants to help her, that's not wrong.
No, and if it's not a loan that she's obligated to pay back that would divert funds that she could pay back into restitution, nobody can even really be, I mean, I guess people can have their feelings. I'm not going to tell you what to feel, but you can't really be mad about it because that's somebody else making an independent choice. And you know what? If somebody wants to throw money at her because they're patting the puss, then go ahead.
I mean, I was going to say something.
Go ahead. It's not like in relationships, it's not like, oh, I've got this. Oh, let's go to dinner. Oh, I'll pay for this vacation. Like, just up level it on rich people level. If Erika's dating, I'm not surprised. She's going to have to bounce from this. It's not like I've seen the death threats she's receiving. She's shared on social media, which is appalling, by the way. Yeah, but I think that her behavior has fed that. I think that I'm ordering the no apologies and shit like that, I think is not feeding her brand at this point. I think it's feeding the hatred at this point, and that's not a good look. She's fueling some of that with her behavior, but nobody should be lashing out like this.
I mean, saying that you want somebody executed it's
disgusting.
It's disgusting.
I
even did a video on the death threats, and I said, I know that we cover a lot of the scandal and everything that's going on, right? And everybody has their own opinions, but that is unwarranted. It's disgusting. It's venomous.
It's too far.
Things that are being said, you're taking it too far. You might have your opinions, but at that point, just keep that shit to yourself. You don't need to go.
What happened to and I effing hate you, you cold-hearted bitch. What you did's disgusting. You're a thief. Pay back the money. Where's the money? Talk about the victims. Where's that energy? But once we get into the death threats, what it allows Erika to do is to discredit those that have valid criticism, because it's like, oh, you're all just threatening me. No, there are people who have valid criticisms and make valid points. The death threats overshadow all of that. But in covering the Free Britney movement and Britney Spears' conservatorships, the death threats that Lou Taylor and Britney's dad receive are disgusting and graphic. And I'm like, I don't like them either. But what you can't do is just threaten people's lives. Like, there are boundaries. And I think that social media has eroded some of those boundaries, because most of the time you wouldn't walk up to somebody and say that on the street because, well, in California, it's a 422 and you can be arrested for it. In most places, criminal threats are. So it's those are crimes too. And my 13-year-old and I talk about this all the time with his friends in junior high. They're 8th graders, and they go tit for tat on stupid shit. And he's like, you're wrong and you're wrong. Everybody stop. And that's what's happening here. It's like you're screaming at her that she's wrong, and then you're also doing wrong criminal shit as you're doing that. So let's just not. It's appalling. But
let's take
Erika's behavior is fueling some of that, and I can't believe she doesn't see that. And part of me wonders if she is willing to fuel it for empathy. It's like, see, this is me. This is hard for me. Look at this. She posted the freaking crucifixion picture that we've talked about.
I mean, that was disgusting too, just to be fair. But even Garcelle called this when she said, no apologies. Ironic? I think not.
Garcelle's all of us. This whole season, Garcelle, I mean, her boobs are way better than mine, but Garcelle's all of us. I love that red interview look so much. I think
you said that twice now. You really do love that.
I love it. I freaking love it every time. And I'm like, it's one of my favorite interview looks ever. It's hot. I love it. And she has kids like my kids' age. So I'm just like, get it, mama. But anyway.
I'm here for Garcelle. By the way,
I'm here for Garcelle.
Super chat. But I noticed when somebody asked me which housewife, if you could take any of them off, who would it be? And I said Emily Simpson. I think you agreed with me. Yeah, did you? Okay. I was like, sorry.
I did. We could talk about that. I did. I messaged you I think I messaged you in your question response or on Instagram, because look, here's the thing. I wanted to like Emily Simpson. I'm like, she's not a skinny mini. I think Emily looks great, but some of these women are like literally snack size, bite size humans. Like Tamara Judge is a tiny, teeny, tiny human.
Lisa
Rinna is a teeny, tiny human. I personally would not want to be on screen next to them, because I am going to look like I have eaten them, and that's just not comfortable for me. But Emily is a lawyer. We have the same name. Like, I was just like, I wanted to root for her so bad, and everything she does grates on me. And then that first season, when somebody was saying something to Shane and she started threatening their life. I'm like, what in the unhinged world is happening here?
I will kill you.
I was so
She lost you.
She lost me. But then during COVID, I was like, I actually felt for her, but I just
and
I
her
just can't.
her husband is kind of a little douchey on camera, just to be fair.
A little.
I'm being reserved, but he's just a mean little guy.
The thing is though, if he was douchey to others, I'd be like, okay, but I get the very distinct sense that he does not respect his wife. And the things we've seen him do towards her were appalling. And then when he's like, I have to disappear and study for the bar. I've taken it like 5 times. I'm like, shut the fuck up, Shane.
Yeah.
I had surgery the month before the bar. No, like 3 weeks before the bar exam in California and passed it on the first. Don't come at me.
And she looked terrified for him to fail the bar. Actually,
she looked scared.
Yeah. She's like, if he comes home and he doesn't pass, he's going to be a tyrant. I'm like, I would not be married to that man.
No, me neither. And the whole dynamic, we could go on about this forever, but the whole dynamic of like, they seem to have this like, oh, if we're both like 30 and not married, haha, we'll just marry each other. It's just a weird dynamic.
Yeah, it's a weird
and it's not comfortable. Some of the weird dynamics I love. This is a weird dynamic that's just uncomfortable to watch.
Well, getting back to it, I guess. Santane said, what's happening with the other lawyers in the firm? Is anyone else being bankrupt because of this?
The other lawyers in the firm are still moving ahead. So in the case in Indiana that kind of popped all this off with Edelson PC, the Edelson PC lawsuit's the one that was like, hey, we worked with the Girardi Keese firm on the Lion Air case, the one that the clients are all the, surviving or remaining family members of people who were killed in that air disaster, the widows and orphans of it all. And Edelson PC, the firm that was supposed to be working with Girardi Keese as their local counsel, said, hey, we haven't been paid. And now we're aware that the clients haven't been paid. But the Girardi Keese firm was the firm that was liaising with the clients in the Philippines to sue Boeing here in the US. In that lawsuit, that was kind of the thing that tipped it all off. They alleged the $20 million loan to EJ Global first. They alleged that the divorce was a sham to hide assets. They attached SoundCloud files to voice memos of Tom Girardi saying, oh, this, that, be nice to me, blah, 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 and bullshit. The other lawyers that worked on that case, Lyra and Griffin, Lyra being Tom Girardi's son-in-law, are still being investigated for improper behavior, really, and where the money went in that court proceeding. So the court proceeding as to Tom Girardi in Illinois has stopped, but it's going forward with regard to the other lawyers. So they have an order to show cause coming up where they have to prove why they didn't pay the clients or why they didn't tell the court that the clients weren't being paid. Now, there's legal motions going back and forth where they're trying to say, look, we don't have access to the books in Girardi Keese, so we can't even defend ourselves because we don't know what happened. Tom already filed documents saying he was going to plead the fifth if they tried to ask him these questions about where the money went in that court case. So there's still consequences happening for the other lawyers in the firm. Absolutely.
Which this sounds very convenient.
But no, they're not bankrupt. Sorry. But no, they're not bankrupt.
I can't talk about, or, like I have this diagnosis, which is sad, but I have this diagnosis. So I can't say anything. I'm not going to talk. I'm going to plead the fifth. I allegedly did all of this stuff when you guys allegedly didn't have any idea of what was going on, but I'm going to keep my mouth shut and good luck.
He has to, because he has to plead the fifth in that case. One, the diagnosis, he might be able to say he can't actually give competent testimony, that he is not mentally competent to give testimony. But two, that judge made very clear, that's the judge that froze the assets and was like, what the fuck we're not going to do is any of this. That is the judge that was like, wait. What did you say? That the clients weren't paid? Oh, hell no. He was the one who dragged everybody in, froze Tom Girardi's assets. That judge is the one that put the brakes on this entire thing. Once again, a judge not in California, outside of the sphere of influence, if you will, of Tom Girardi, and said that he had referred the case on like the second or third court hearing as this was all crumbling down after Edelson sued, said that he was referring the case to the AUSAs. So, hey, I need the government criminal prosecutors to investigate what has happened here. This is criminal to me. So yeah, Tom Girardi has to plead the fifth because there's a criminal investigation into him, and anything he says about where the money went could be used against him in a criminal investigation. I don't think he will ever make it that far. I think with his health and with his age and with the stress, I don't think we will see a criminal prosecution of Tom Girardi. I don't.
Okay. All right. Well, we do know that he supposedly moved into his new assisted living facility, Belmont Village, which I feel like I saw so many of them all over Los Angeles.
There's quite a bit.
They were saying that it was $4,500 to $4,700 a month, and now we heard it's $9,500 a month.
That seems more accurate. When I was seeing the $4,500 number, I was like, that doesn't seem right.
But then I was looking at the thing that got me the most was he has quite the little menu, 24 meals. He has 24 meals to choose from. I even made a joke about this on my channel when I was like, listen, I eat like chicken tenders, tacos, chips and salsa, a burger, and popcorn. So you
don't have a chef.
Yep. And I don't have a chef. So I would be happy with the 24 meals. But do you actually think that he moved in there? Because we've seen photos of him, but we haven't seen photos of bags. We haven't seen photos of anything else. And
I don't know if he's moved in. He's going to have to move. He might have just been touring to see if that's where he wants to be. He's going to have to move somewhere. Once the Pasadena house is in escrow, he has to be out. So he has to start making a plan for that. They keep dropping the price. Eventually that house will sell.
Can't he just move in? Well, maybe he could just move in with his brother.
He probably could.
Okay. All right. Well, with that,
we'll see it come up in the conservatorship proceedings. If he does move, we'll see a report at some point. If he has moved, we'll see that in the conservatorship proceedings. Right now, the conservatorship proceedings do not indicate that he needs 24-hour in-home care. So if we see that change over in that's a separate court. If we see that change over there, then we'll have an indication of him moving, and it will be updated over there. But yeah, he could move in with his brother. He could move in with his sister. He could move in with one of his kids. I mean, he wouldn't be the first parent to move in with their kids as they got older.
I know my parents actually talked to me about this the other day, and they're like, when you buy a house, we are hoping that you get like a 3, 4, 5 bedroom home. That way, at the end of the day, if we need somewhere to go. And I said to Jason, I was like, we're getting a 2-bedroom, the other bedroom's for a studio. And then we're going to be like, oh shit, the market was really high. We couldn't find a place with 4 or 5 bedrooms. And he's like,
oh, you're young. And I love that. When we bought this house, we made sure that there was a guest bedroom downstairs with a walk-in shower. So you don't have to like step over a tub into the shower, because that is one of the things that can be difficult as you get older. Or if you have a bunch of knee surgeries like me. So we made sure that there was a guest room down here, so nobody has to go upstairs. It's near the kitchen. Like, part of our planning for buying this house involved a room where parents could come stay. Though my sister-in-law and I regularly joke that we want to take all of our parents and buy a house for all of them and hire 24/7 care into the house, so that we don't have to pay for all of them to be in separate facilities. And I'm like, we'll just stock the fridge with alcohol, get a bunch of cameras, and make it like Big Brother geriatric version, and just film them all. And my mother is appalled by this idea. My sister and I think we're hilarious. We're like, no, it'll totally work. It'll
get the return on your investment. I like that.
It'll totally work. But it would just really, nobody wants to see like, a bunch of in-laws getting drunk and arguing about politics and the world today and these kids and their TikTok. Like, nobody wants to see it.
Yeah, no. Well, I mean, honestly, I might watch it. So you never know. You never know. And I'm just guys, for anybody who's in there, I would definitely let my parents move in with me.
I know it's the internet, and you can't even make a joke, right? Because it's going to be like, Adam hates his parents. And it's like,
which is not true. I love my parents.
But you know what? It changes, and as you get older. In my 20s and early 30s, when my kids were really young, it would have been much harder to have my parents live with us, because my parents would have also then been like wanting to parent my children. I'm like, no, we're going to do a few things differently. I've learned things in therapy. I love you, but we try to do like one generation better with each generation, and then hopefully my kids will be better than me. But now that my kids are getting a bit older, it becomes a little bit easier to imagine having my folks here, and there's like a different dynamic. So
yeah, no, and I can see that. I mean, at one point I had my mom living with Jason and I in Los Angeles for 3 months, and when she left, I sat there and I cried, and I looked at her photos, and I was so sad. And she, You know, every day I would come in and it would be country music blasting, the wine's going, stuff is being made in the kitchen. It was like gone like a freight train, gone like
Your mom can come stay.
what the hell is happening in
Your
here?
mom could have come stayed here.
Oh my
I love
gosh.
it.
She'd be like,
But
"Oh,
yeah.
hey, son, you're home." I'm like, "Mom, this is my home."
I love this. I love this. It's like an episode of Nashville. It's so good. But I love that. And this episode overall, we had the little moments, but it feels like it's all building towards this big blowout with Erika and Sutton. And, we're really seeing Sutton just being like, Sutton's kind of taking it more than she was earlier in the season. Like earlier in this, which was what? When they were in Tahoe, that was what, 3-4 months before what they're filming now?
Right. But
so when they were in Tahoe, Sutton was like,
Crystal's not as intimidating as Sutton, and Sutton early like
the way
that, as Erika, and the way that Erika snapped at her out of left field it totally was not warranted. That was just emotions, you could tell, because Sutton didn't say anything in that moment to warrant that reaction. She's intimidating. Erika's intimidating.
She is intimidating, and
it would scare me.
And Sutton's just like, because it did come out of left field. I'm sure it wasn't out of left field for Erika, because Erika had probably been stewing on it since the conversation with Rinna and Kyle, but it came out of left field in the conversation. And it's like, oh, Sutton, you can't talk, because it's like.
And I can't believe they're about to have this whole little uproar at the Kathy Hilton party.
When did we get to see Kathy building the new house? Like, I was promised that we'd see Kathy Hilton's ridiculously large house in the teaser trailer for the entire season, and we're still not there yet. I'm tired.
The $50-something million home where
I want to see it.
So poor. Yeah, I want to see the Hilton house.
I love Kathy. I did not think I would love Kathy the way that I do, and I really like. I feel like Kathy's kind of the muse comic relief that's just like peacefully oblivious to some of the things going on, and then has these little like moments of quips. And then we've got Garcelle just saying what the audience thinks. The audience is like, "That's not what you said." And Garcelle's like, "That's not what you said." And I'm like, "You're saying what we're thinking, Garcelle. Keep doing it." I love her as an addition to the cast so much.
With Kathy Hilton, her daughters teased that, one, that they weren't excited about the fact that she was filming in the first place. But then they said, you guys are going to love our mom. She's so funny and she's just great. And I was thinking, well, that's your daughter, so they're going to say that. But no, I really do think she is like the breakout star of this season for any of the franchises. Everybody has fallen in love with Kathy Hilton. And one thing that I really like about her is she gives those little quick jabs like, I'm sure that's not the first time you heard that, Dorit. And this is my new friend from England. She's like, "I'm from Connecticut, babe." It's like, whatever, And
the accent's confusing to read. Nobody knows.
Yeah, you have a blender of accents. So my new friend from, and actually that's the table thing to comparing to what Dorit actually wears with her fashions. That is the third time that she's thrown a little bit of shade at Dorit. I like it.
I think it's funny. But Dorit, I mean, Kathy is so rich. She's not going to tell you she's rich. She's like, "Oh, I have this receipt from Barney's and I'm putting it on a wreath." Like, Kathy is eccentric and quirky and richer than God and has a last name that says it. So she doesn't have to beat you over the head with the fact that she has money. It's just like known. Where Dorit, I think, is a little bit of a tryhard sometimes. And she is head to toe in whatever designer she's in. And there's a different kind of facade. And this seems to me to be kind of this like new money, old money type of thing with the two of them. And Kathy's just like, "Oh, babe, we don't do head to toe Vuitton. Nobody needs to. It's fine."
Yeah. And she's just down to earth. She carries around her big ass fan. And then she's like eating at her, I haven't seen a TV tray since I was
a kid
at home. Yeah.
Same.
We used to do the same thing and we would have the
Same.
TV trays, and I'm just watching her and I'm like, you are so down to earth, but so freaking rich that I couldn't even imagine. I couldn't even imagine.
Down to earth, but not. She's like, "I need a straw and chia. Can you just?"
Yeah. She's like, "Can you please just pick up some chia seeds and maybe a dozen of those flowers that you can only get in Japan?" What?
Yeah, just whatever. But yes, the TV trays, I loved them. I have been wanting to get one of the kind of the modern TV trays that are the couch tables that kind of scoot in so that I can leave my drinks next to my couch. I need one of those. But I love a TV tray. We used to do that as kids and sit in front of the TV, and when things were like happening, like new premieres of music videos and shit. Cause I am old, so old, but we used to get to sit in front of the TV. It was fun.
And then and I like that you just like rack them up at the end. There's a little stand and you all put your TV tray back and you're
just hang them on the stand.
I'm good. That's my dining room table.
They should make a comeback. I need Kathy Hilton to release a line of TV trays, and
Sonia Morgan's she's gonna be like, I got this. No, Sonia, stop.
No, Sonia.
No more. Actually, I might say that to Jason because we moved into a much smaller place and we had to get rid of a lot of our furniture, and now I have to eat at our little like bar thing, which is really uncomfortable. Maybe I'll suggest TV trays. I didn't even think about that because they're so old school. But if you get some like chic black ones or, like some monochromatic TV trays, I feel like, hey, we're good.
Or just make them campy.
Yeah.
And just be like, it's fun.
Jason's going to be like, no, but okay.
No, it's a brilliant plan. I love it. I love TV tray. I feel like I might need some too. It was such a fun thing to see. And it's like, the reason they were on the TV trays is because the table was already set for, she's getting ready to host dinner, right? So the table was already set. And so you can't go sit at the table. Yeah.
She's like, we're not picking up this table. No. And could you imagine if somebody like Sonia Morgan on Real Housewives of New York, when she was over at Archie's house, which I like that she calls her Archie, like she can't remember the name, but then again, she was drunk enough. Maybe she can't remember the name, but when she throws the shit down and you hear, and she's like slamming on the table. Could you imagine if one of these women behaved like that in the Hilton house? No way.
No way. And
they would be, no,
I love seeing the tables. It reminds me of my mom, where like the Thanksgiving table would be set a few days in advance because once you start cooking, you just don't have time for it. And so we would sit at the counter and eat because the table was already set. Those were the kind of the highlights of the episode for me because they were nice moments. You got to see sisters work through some drama in a fairly mature and like, oh, we've all processed this with our therapists kind of a way.
Yeah.
You got to see the beautiful table. You got some Kathy shade, a makeup moment. You got to see Garcelle be all of us. It was a very good episode, but Beverly Hills has been serving this year. I can't wait for the reunion. They haven't even filmed the New York reunion. What is up with that?
So we just heard they actually did. They filmed it yesterday. We just don't know. What we're hearing is that it was virtual, or some of the women were virtual. We don't actually know the details of it. But then we were hearing, again, this is like the annoying rumor thing. We know that it filmed. We just don't know how they filmed it. And we didn't get teased with anything, which normally, Kempire made this known yesterday too. He brought this up because he recapped it with me.
Love Kempire.
He said, yeah, we love Kempire. He said that, normally Andy Cohen asked for questions before the reunion, and he didn't ask for any questions for this reunion. So what the hell is
I can imagine why. This season was brutal.
Yeah. And they cut it by, I think 3 to 5 episodes. They cut it short, which we've seen them do in the past with other franchises. But yeah, they cut this season short, which kind of, I wonder who's going to be filling their slot, because Roni, the reunion. Shit. Where's my mind right now? The finale is next Tuesday. Yep. So then after that, we have to have the reunion, unless they give it a week's break and they give us like some stupid never before seen scenes of I don't know, which we're like, okay, we don't need that. But I'm surprised that they're cutting it right before Salt Lake City. And I'm wondering who's going to fill that spot. I have a lot of questions because Atlanta's not.
They have time to, what night is Salt Lake City on?
It's going to be on Sunday.
Why don't they just move Salt Lake to Tuesday?
Huh? Well, I don't know. I mean, I should be working for the network at this point, but they, honestly, yes. I'm glad that they moved it to Sunday, because when we got Salt Lake City before this first season, it was so hard to cover because they had the 10 p.m. like time slot. So we would watch it from 10 to 11, and I would do it with DJ Richie Sky, and we would watch it. And the next morning he's like, I'm so tired. And I'm like, dude, I'm exhausted. I had to watch it again this morning because I didn't even have time to digest it, because I'm an old man. Like, I wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and I'm in bed by 8. So it's just, I'm done. I'm not staying.
Yeah, it was, I didn't catch Salt Lake until after it had completely aired. And so then I binged the whole thing. It was much easier for me.
Well, that sounds like a luxury that I can't afford.
I know. I'm going to be watching it episode by episode this time. You better believe it. We're going to be here talking about Salt Lake going, ooh, did you see what she said? I mean, look, for how bad it could be for Jen Shaw in her criminal case, it looks like she just showed up to play again and was like, I'm the Teresa Giudice of Salt Lake City bitches, and I'm going there.
It really looks like she doesn't understand how serious this actually is. And I know we've said that, but like by ending off you actually texted me. I knew that day that it was coming out because Bravo did the teaser saying that they were serving up some sweet iced tea or something like that, or iced tea or whatever.
It was an iced tea joke with a snowflake.
So we knew it was coming. And I was sitting here and Jason's brother was in town and Jason was working. And I'm like, what do you want to do? He's like, I really want to go to the beach. I said, okay, well, I think this is going to be released by 12 and I just need to do a video on it. And then 12 comes around, 12:30. I was like, you know what? Let's just go to the beach. As soon as we go to the beach, literally we sit down, unpack our shit. And then you text me and I'm like, no, like I just waited around all morning for this. And then I did a video on it and it got like no views because nobody cared about it because they want to see the actual episodes, not really the trailer. And then we see at the end, Jen Shah saying, can we get Kim Kardashian on our defense team? Which is, it just sounds like a mockery.
It does, or like a clout chase. But Kim Kardashian does do work with federal prisoners. Generally, Kim Kardashian works with people after they've been convicted. So Jen Shah, there's still hope for you to get Kim Kardashian to work with you. She does work on releasing people from prison who either got heavy sentences or who got she believes wrongfully convicted. So she does do that kind of prison work. So maybe after you get convicted, Jen, you can get Kim Kardashian's help. Not before, because Kim Kardashian is not a licensed attorney.
Has she not passed the bar yet?
She has to take the baby bar. So she hasn't passed the first step. So in the way she's going through law school is on an apprenticeship track that's like the unaccredited track in California. And if you go to an unaccredited law school, you have to take a baby bar at the end of your first year of learning and pass it before you can do 2L and 3L and then sit for the bar exam, which entitles you to practice law. She hasn't passed that one yet, and you have to pass it within 3 tries of a certain amount of time.
And when I found out, and I know that she wants to follow in her father's legacy and all of that, but when I found out that she was actually even entertaining the idea of being a lawyer, I'm thinking you have over $1 billion worth of companies, you have Skims, you have all of these amazing things that you do, and you can use your celebrity to continue doing what you're doing anyways by working with different attorneys and, raising awareness for these different inmates who were either wrongfully convicted or about to be, or have their lives taken. You can still do all of that. Why would you even add that to your plate? But she's a monster. She just keeps going.
I think, and when I saw her talk about it on the show, she talked a lot about wanting to be in the rooms and actually understanding what she was talking about and having a little bit more, I guess, grounding in what she was talking about, not just looking to the other lawyers being like, what is this and what is that? I don't know if she wants to actually be a practicing licensed attorney or if she just wants to have the knowledge that comes with going through law school, and passing the bar is just, then a ESQ after your name, and she might never practice and just continue doing advocacy work. But I think she's actually genuinely curious, but she can't go to traditional law school because she never finished undergrad. So she has to go this route because she doesn't have a 4-year degree. So, I mean, it's admirable that she could be spending her time not studying for law school. Law school is not easy. So, it was interesting to me but she also has the luxury of doing it. She can have people help with the kids and have people cook and go to the grocery store. She can have the time to do that and study. So
she can send the kids to Wyoming with Ye.
Yeah, they can go hang out on the ranch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
so
we're rooting for you.
So we'll see what happens with that. I think, it's interesting, but I also am not anyone who wants more information and knowledge to make change. I'm not going to dog them for that, even when they're Kim Kardashian.
Right.
So, and she's good friends with her family. One of the family lawyers is Sean Chapman Hawley, who was one of the lawyers for Lindsay Lohan. And she is a defense attorney who's now repping like Tory Lanez and Shia LaBeouf. And so it's really interesting seeing her kind of really leaning into that criminal defense realm like her dad did.
I like
the tea of it all. I can't imagine Kim Kardashian showing up in court though, trying to like talk to the prosecutor and be like, so hi.
we talked about this before, like how what you wear actually like it is important. I could just imagine her showing, but actually, to be fair, no, I was about to make a joke, but she actually, when she shows up and she has these sit downs and she's doing the work that she's doing, she does come very professional.
Yeah,
she doesn't show up like, Elle Woods in Legally Blonde. She doesn't show up like that.
She definitely has a situational awareness. And I think it would be very disruptive, though, to court proceedings for Kim Kardashian to show up in court. Because everyone else who's just sitting in court, well, I mean, if everybody's sitting in courtrooms again with COVID, who knows? But everybody else would just be like, isn't that Kim Kardashian?
Yeah.
It would be a very interesting day. With the day that Lindsay Lohan showed up in court, it like practically shut down the entire courthouse. So
yeah, I could see that. Everybody would
celebrities make it a mess. And then Mark Garagos would show up and want the entire courthouse to be like, oh my God, you're Mark Garagos. And everybody would be like, what do you need? What do you want? I don't care that you're representing Scott Peterson. What do you need? Why are you still talking to me?
Good old Kim K. Good old Kim K.
Good old Kim K. I mean, I'm interested to see what they do next TV wise, because we know there's something else coming. So
yeah, it's coming on Hulu. They signed a huge $100+ million deal.
Yeah, them and the D'Amelios.
Do we know what the D'Amelios are getting paid?
No, it's definitely not what the Kardashians are getting paid.
It's not the same
thing. They're getting the opportunity to extend their fame beyond TikTok. That's what they're getting.
Okay, that's fair.
That's what they're getting. All right, I mean, we have been an hour. I've kept you so long. This is way longer than you stream. I know you have a busy day. I can talk to you forever. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you joining me. And as always, I mean, just thank you. I know that you're super busy. And like you said, we could do this for hours. I could just hop all over the board with you because I'm interested in pop culture and it doesn't stop. Sure. Like you said, it never stops. What are you covering? Are you doing any other lives today?
I am not doing any other lives today. I have some pre-records to do for the podcast, and I've got some work to do to get ready for tomorrow's live stream. The podcast episodes that are coming up are going to be covering the updates in the Scarlett Johansson case, the Blizzard Activision case, the Nirvana baby case. So those are the things that are getting recorded for podcast episodes that are coming up. And then the live stream tomorrow night is going to be Girardi, and I have notes. There's going to be something else, but it's going to be a lot of the Girardi financial documents. I'm not done redacting them yet because it has lists and lists and lists of client names and their addresses. So I'm still going through and blacking out all of those addresses so that, as I scroll past, just to show how many there are no addresses on screen. And I hope that doesn't become a problem. These are all now public records. It worries me in a case like this, but hopefully that won't be an issue. So, I saw a comment in the chat that we didn't even talk about. Damn it. What about all the Rinna shade to Scott Disick?
She just like mentioning the name.
She will not stop talking about Scott Disick. And Scott Disick's had worse press, right, than Lisa Rinna being like Scott Disick. But
he's probably like, who the hell are you?
He knows who Lisa Rinna is.
Yeah, he knows who she is. But it's like this is another classic case of talking about her daughters and their relationships and what's going on.
We never got back to that. I got so ADD distracted. We never got back to that. She's just platforming her daughters for their career, yes?
Yeah, when she came up with the Munchausen shit for Yolanda, Erika even told her, like, you messed up on that because Gigi and Bella, they're like skyrocketing to the point where I think Gigi's covered over like 35 plus covers of Vogue and like just ridiculous. She's in the top 5 highest paid models at this point. And we watched her when she was in high school on the show. And I think Lisa Rinna is trying to take a page out of that book and skyrocket her daughters. However, one daughter has just said, Delilah, that I am taking, a step back from social media and I'm not going to be working. I'm sorry if I can't follow through with my work commitments, but I need to take a break for myself. And then the other daughter is just like, look at me, I'm with Scott Disick, bitch. So I'm going to be famous, whether you like it.
Whether you like it or not. Scott, you know what though? If they're happy, whatever, they're happy. Because it seems that Courtney's very happy with Travis Barker. Look, when I named my son Travis Baker, I didn't even think of it. And then even worse, I named him Travis Scott Baker. And so at school, they call him Travis Scott. But the older generation is like, wait, Travis Barker? I'm like, no, Baker. But it seems that they're happy. And I want them to both be happy. I mean, the age gap is a little much with Scott, but whatever.
I'm not doubting it. We've seen worse. I mean, Jason and I have a 10-year age gap.
Yeah, we have an 11-year age gap. I mean, they get to have fun. And I think things have to be cool with Rinna and Scott, right? For her to keep poking at him at the show. Because otherwise it would be a little too on the nose.
And I think that also, too, she's like, on the sidelines, like, you're doing great, sweetie. Like, I saw you in US Weekly or Us Weekly this past week, and I saw that you were on the cover with Scott. Like, just keep doing what you're doing.
Getting your name out there.
Yeah, we just got the cover for you for Elle magazine. You're doing great, sweetie. Just keep going.
Do you think she's calling up Chris? Like, Chris, what's the sitch? Like, how do we make this happen?
Yes,
like,
because she definitely knows Chris, because Chris's best friend is Kyle. So she knows.
They're definitely not going like the sex tape route. Like,
no,
like they used to do back in the day, like the Paris Hilton, Kim Kardashian route. Like, there's a new route to fame.
I can picture Amelia being like, Mom, he's old. And she's like, get in there and do what you got to do.
He's young at heart, baby. Men don't mature until they're at least 30. It's fine. He's like a teenager. She's
like, you didn't want to go to college. Get your ass in there and go get with Scott Disick. And she's like, but Mom, I don't want to. And she's like, I don't give a shit. It was this or college. Which one? My God. Okay. Here we go. I can see it.
It's so funny. And when we talk about Beverly Hills being kind of a small town, this is what you're seeing with everybody's kids knowing each other and all that stuff. So when Jenny Cross in the chat said Chris is not taking her calls. Jenny, it's Chris with a K.
Yeah, Jenny. If you're gonna say that, you got to get that one right. But thank you.
You're doing great, sweetie.
You're doing great, sweetie. All right. Well, Emily, I've had a lot of fun and a lot of fun, and this was great. And I feel like we jumped all over the board, but that's what we do here. So again, thank you so much, because I always message you last minute, and I just appreciate you even being here.
Thank you for having me. I love getting to talk about all of the silly fun stuff and just get to have a really great chat. And you're always such a welcoming host. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And we will talk again soon, I am sure.
Of course. Of course. And for all of you guys living under a rock who is here and not a law nerd, you need to become a law nerd. You can also follow Emily D. Baker. Her YouTube is linked in my description of this video. And like she said, she has a lot of podcasts coming up covering stuff that's not always Bravo. So it's interesting. Tune in.
Yep.
Thank you, Emily. Bye. All right, guys, make sure that you smash that like button. And again, make sure that you go subscribe. We have over 2,100 people in the room. And guys, we are about to go live with Ronald Richards at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is 11:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. There's exclusive new details of there's something being filed today. I don't know exactly what it is because he hasn't told me yet. But what we do know is he's breaking it on my channel at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you guys are around, I've already dropped the video. Go smash that like button. Join us. It's going to be good. Last week, he broke the Amex information, the $14 million in Amex bills, and also Lisa Rinna potentially getting deposed. We'll see you then. Bye, guys.